Independent grind powered by Tech 9.
All right, cool. So I guess just starting out, can you tell us a little bit how you got started creating art?
Yeah, so I've been creating art ever since I was a little kid, but seriously, kind of like after high school is when I got into more like officially like graphic design. I was like took photos and stuff and took photography classes, and then that kind of led into just kind of having an eye for things. And then, I went to school for graphic design, and I was really heavy into illustration actually when I graduated. And that eventually parlayed into just doing more collage-based graphic design work and like handmade painting and drawing and stuff like that.
Now, starting out, did you always want to make album art when you started it, or was that something that sort of developed as you started to create?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was it makes sense now looking back, but I don't know if I really put two and two together back in the day that was actually like a thing, you know? Mm-hmm. I feel like when you're a little bit younger, you don't really know like what's like a graphic designer or like who is behind all the album art, even though I've always was like checking out the covers and stuff like that. But then when I got involved with friends that were making music and stuff, I would start doing covers for them. So it kind of started like locally. And ever since I started making art, I would definitely apply it to my friends, like mixtapes and albums and stuff like that.
How did you sort of take that to the next level? Was it just posting things on Instagram and getting noticed, or how did you sort of take, making artwork for friends and then moving it up to something that you were taking seriously as a profession?
Well, honestly, I started doing a lot of work even like before Instagram was even a thing. So there'd be bigger like local acts that would hit me up for album artwork. This one indie band, Brown Recluse, was actually like my first official like label project, and it was on vinyl and CD and all that. So that was kind of my break into the actual industry of making like real covers and handling the packaging and all that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and that obviously led to you linking up with Anderson Paak. How did that initially take place? How'd you link up with him?
So that actually took place over Twitter. I was doing a lot of illustrated portraits of rappers and a lot of people that he was associated with in the LA underground scene, kind of like outsider, like LA rap scene. And he hit me up and he was like, "Yo, where's my illustration at?" or whatever. And we just kind of like started talking. And the one that I did for him actually ended up being a poster, and we used it for, it was like a weekly he was doing at the time. So that kind of kicked it off, and then I ended up doing a bunch of singles and his album cover for Venice, and then eventually for Malibu. Mm-hmm. And over the course of time, we definitely built a nice little portfolio of pieces. It's definitely been a fun journey watching him blow up too.
Yeah, definitely. I actually want to start about Venice. I feel like a lot of people know Malibu, but I was a huge fan of Venice when it came out, and so I recognized your artwork immediately. I guess, did you know that you would be doing the art for Malibu as well as Venice, or did you just start out with Venice?
Yeah, we started out with Venice, and we would always keep in touch, and he would like let me know what he wanted me to do art for at the time. So things eventually changed, and Malibu was always a thing he would talk about, and I didn't really know what it was. And then when he hit me up to actually do the cover, it was kind of a different scenario because he had hired an art director to be kind of like a overall creative. So it was almost like a team effort from Malibu. We had like a lot of people involved, and the art director was named Corey Gomberg. He was actually a creative director for The Source in the mid-90s and got into like fashion and stuff. So he's like a really creative dude, and he like pushed me to tighten up the collage and really like kind of see the vision all the way through and just conceptually like find imagery that was appropriate and totally match it to the sounds of the album.
Was that challenging for you at all to sort of have someone almost like shaping your art in a way, just like telling you what to do or not.
Yeah, I
what to
mean,
do, but
it was definitely weird at first because I guess the first thing that we worked on was a single for Room in Here, I believe, with the game. So it was definitely a different process because I had just met him and he texted me like 50 images of reference and I was like, I'm not ready for this. But it ended up being like an awesome collaboration and like we still keep in touch and everything. So it was a good effort, like teamwork wise.
And both of them have kind of a distinct, their own like different colors and different, vibes and stuff, but they're very similar, sort of aesthetically. I guess what inspired the artwork for both Venice and Malibu?
For the single covers, you mean?
Or just the overall artwork or your direction?
Okay. For like Anderson stuff or overall?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for Anderson's stuff.
Yeah, for Anderson stuff, I think Corey really, really liked what I was doing with his previous work with collage, and we almost just we would always start conceptually, and collage is the medium we decided to really use. And I think the idea behind it was would reference some vintage vinyl covers and stuff like that, and interesting because a lot of the stuff that we were drawn to were almost like these analog collages. It was pre-computer and all that. So we kind of wanted to have the same effect where it looked like it was like a hand-clipped collage. And that style actually went into his triple music video too for the season, Carry Me in the Waters. It was all like collage based and just like really vintage, throwback looking, kind of giving it like a classic feel. And it's really what we strive for the cover, was for it to feel like timeless and just like kind of a piece that's fresh, but always like it seems like it could be from like whatever time period. It could have been from the 70s or whatnot.
I guess where do you even find all those images? Like, what's your process for going about figuring out what you want to put into the collage?
I mean, without giving away all my sources like completely, I definitely would recommend just like hitting up used bookstores and seeing what they have. I'm drawn to a lot of older stuff, which is kind of harder to find, especially from like the 40s and 50s before color photography was like all the way figured out, and all of like the images were called Kodachrome and Ektachrome, and they had these really interesting color palettes. So even like old Life magazines, which I'll find just the advertisements and the photos and everything just have really sick illustration components or just colors that I'll use. But it really varies. Like I was just going through some good Playboys and clipping those up, and I think it depends on what project I'm working on, is kind of like what books or what magazines I'll hit up.
Mm-hmm. Now, was there a particular song or line off the album? Or I guess at what point do you get to hear the album or, listen to it and does that affect your artwork, or does you sort of have a vision before you even hear any music?
Yeah, I mean, typically I require the whole album if possible to listen to, especially if it's finished and if it's available. Sometimes it's not okay, but I definitely like the music to drive the images. And in the case for Malibu, we were definitely listening to the album even before it was like finished. So it was good to kind of have all the tracks, even though they weren't like completely done, and just really let each song and the lyrics really dictate the imagery. So, I mean, Corey and I literally would like listen to each song, and every lyric that Anderson would have, like his stuff is really filled and rich with imagery and a lot of great content. So it made it easy for us, and we would just make a list of like kind of everything that he like talked about and try to like combine it all in a way that made sense for the song.
Was there a particular line or a song, sort of something that served as a catalyst or something that really sparked the direction of it?
Well, I think the Room in Here was an interesting one because Corey was really hitting specific references in that case, where it was almost like 1940s, like like Harlem, New York kind of vibe. It's like Josephine Baker on the cover, and it's really like smoky jazz club, almost like Cotton Club kind of feel. So we took all of that stuff, and the beat by Like from Pac Div has that kind of swing to it too. So it really like made sense for the cover to kind of look like that, and we kind of pulled all those references together, and I really like how that cover came out because it really matches the feel of the song, I feel like.
Definitely. And I'm curious, just as a fan of the album, was there anything different that you heard on the album that either didn't make the final cut or anything that made the final cut that you didn't get to hear?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe some of the interludes were added at the end, and a couple like parts were added at the end. But yeah, everything was pretty much just like fleshed out. It was just mixing and mastering at that point. Mm-hmm. But it's always nice to hear the album when it comes out. The finished product is always like a little bit more polished and compressed a little bit differently.
Definitely. Now you talked about sort of the video for Season carrying me as sort of like the triple video all in one. And that obviously is influenced by your artwork. And I've seen Anderson live in his live show. There's like great visuals behind him. Sort of almost like they sort of animated the visuals, and it looks like the album artwork, but it's not quite that. I'm just curious what role you played in that development.
So all the live visuals, I think I know which ones you're talking about, and those are a lot of the single covers, which are animated by Micah. And Micah is a really talented dude that did a lot of all the live visuals and a lot of video and stuff too. And I would send him like the Photoshop files, and every image would be all layered out on a different layer, and he would be able to like move it around. So he added some effects and everything, and made everything kind of come to life live. So yeah, it's really cool to see everything like animated.
Yeah, what's that like for you to sort of almost see your artwork come to life in a way?
It's pretty crazy, actually. I just love whenever I work with an animator and I see their interpretation. I do like GIFs and some like kind of animation, but I love like handing over a layered file, just seeing someone put their touch on the movement.
Cool. And now sort of I just want to speak overall sort of about Anderson a little bit. I guess for me, I've been a fan for a long time since like the Breezy Lovejoy days. So to see it almost explode and see him rise so quickly was crazy for me as a fan. So I'm sure for you, it's like exciting. I guess when did you notice sort of Malibu was like a smash and that he was sort of on this, huge rise?
Well, at that point, I kind of already knew Malibu was going to blow up. It was just by listening to the album. It was obvious to me, especially with the momentum he had behind him. Like, I've been listening to, him since Breezy days too. And, that's why I started listening, just because the music is so good. And, it's been a pleasure to work with him and see him totally blow up. And it is a little surprising because the scale and the speed, not to say like he's blowing up too fast, but he's going to the place where he deserves to be, and it's he's a star. I think he's you can't really put him in a box. He's our generation's like like Marvin Gaye or something. I feel like everything he touches is like on gold, and I just believed in him. That's why I wanted to work with him from the jump.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's really dope. Yeah, his Breezy Lovejoy stuff is still some of my favorite work.
Yeah, all that stuff still bangs. Like, it's so fresh. I revisit like OBE Volume 1 and whatnot, and it's really good.
It's funny. It feels like it's really ahead of its time. Like I always hear that, and I'm like, that sounds like what's like really popping today, and it came out like 4 years ahead.
Like I think I first saw him on like a Dumbfounded video, and he was
he was on that
rolling or joy or something because he was like playing drums for his live band. And then he was on a Knox City performance, and I was like, this guy is so good, it's ridiculous. Like, there's something about his approach, his vocal approach, being a drummer. I feel like his timing is some of the best timing, and his delivery is, it just arrives the line between rapping and singing and like just talking shit. It's like a perfect balance of all three of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've still listened to like Straight Jacket is still, I think, my favorite song of his.
Yeah, that's a good one. I remember that one.
Yeah, it's crazy just to hear that and then hear it now. And it's like almost like, I mean, it's different, but he's like really just does sound like the same artist. I'm like, why did this guy not blow up 5 years ago? So I'm curious for you, doing the artwork for Venice. Like, what, I guess I'm always wondering, like, why now and why Malibu and why was that the one that blew up? So do you have any, I'm just wondering if you ever wonder that or thought about that.
I mean, everything takes time, and the Dre co-sign obviously put a lot of momentum behind him. So, you know, looking back, that's like each step, like linked to each thing. So, you know, it just worked out perfectly, and maybe people weren't really going to be ready for him when Venice came out. It was received well, but not like Malibu. Like, everybody knows about Malibu. But yeah, he is ahead of his time, and, you know, it's all about timing. And I think that everything happened naturally and organically, and, you know, now it's crazy to see him touring with Bruno Mars in Europe. It's just so sick. Like, so many people are finding out about him, and it's great. Like, I feel like Anderson's music is just different, and it makes you feel cool, and it, you know, it has a lot of groove, and you can just kind of listen to any of the stuff around. I mean, it's good for everybody. Like, everybody's mom likes Anderson. Like,
yeah, it's crazy. He's touring with Bruno Mars. It's like, I can't. It's so funny that he's like on Dre. You know, he has so many connections with like Dre, but then he's also like touring with Bruno, and it's just like there's so much crossover. But I'm curious. Yeah, you know, you talked about it. He's touring with Bruno. He's sort of blowing up. His music's like on like every Apple commercial. I guess how has his popularity or his rise sort of affected you, or have you noticed a change in attention towards you?
Well, I noticed that when Malibu came out, you know, there was a lot of attention because of the cover and because of the like, it was like best new music on Pitchfork and everything. So that just kind of put that album in the forefront of a lot of people. So I definitely got a lot of eyes on the artwork, which was great because it helped me kind of branch out and get a little bit more exposure. So, yeah, there was a huge difference. I mean, it was a blessing to be able to do the Malibu cover because it's been leading to a lot of, like, great other projects. It's interesting how each client, like, kind of, like, links to each other, too, because the Malibu cover has led to so many other covers, which have led to other covers. So it's interesting. It's definitely a trickle-down effect, and, you know, I'm very thankful.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I want to get to those other ones, but I just have one more question. Do you have plans to work with Anderson anymore? Are you guys working together, or what's he doing music-wise?
We still keep in touch. I think the last time that we talked, he was in Hawaii, and we were talking about doing a logo for him. So yeah, I mean, I would love to do more album art or, you know, any kind of design in a capacity, but it's also like, I understand if he wants to use a different artist for future covers too, because that's just kind of how it works. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to work with him still in the future. So.
Mm-hmm. And another artist you're currently working with is Chronix. How did you get linked up with him? Yeah,
so that actually kind of led. That was I got the Chronix gig from a couple of different points. There was a Fader illustration that I did that kind of caught their attention, and also a previous client of mine, Bridget Mendler, is friends with like Chronix's creative director. So I was able to kind of get their attention in a couple of different ways, and I was like the right guy for their campaign.
How do you, so creating for a different artist, how do you sort of apply your own signature style, but make it different? Because obviously he can't be like, I just want Anderson's artwork. So how do you make that, apply your style to a different artist, or make it different, but still sort of like you see that and you know that's you?
I mean, I would say that my style is the collage style, and that each album kind of dictates different imagery and color and mood. And I do like working in different mediums, and Chronix, that stuff wasn't completely like collage, but it was made like a collage. But yeah, I really let the music kind of dictate, and also I listen to what the artist wants and their vision for it, and kind of translate that aesthetically. For the Chronix album, there was a lot of input from the team, and there was a lot of, we like visualized it together. Basically, we all kind of talked, and Chronix wanted to go with imagery and the visuals that were very traditional. And, it's not, I don't want to say that he's like leading a new roots reggae movement, but it's definitely kind of like looking back and using like traditional elements and going all the way back to even African sounds. The album's called Chronology. So we wanted to make something that was very classic and reached back into the past, but also looked forward and kept it very fresh. And yeah, I'm super stoked about how the packaging came out. The cover is very simple, but I think the color is like really popping, and there's really like complex, intricate color. So
now I'm curious for
it's gonna
you.
be fun.
For when you sort of, I guess for artists, you never really know until you put it out there, like how people are going to think or how it's going to sound. Is that the case for you? Like, do you have this image of what you did for Chronix, and then is it until you see the packaging that you were like really know, or when I guess I'm just sort of, can you share your thoughts on like just finally seeing it as on the album itself?
Well, it's always fun seeing what people have to say. There was a lot of talk about the Malibu cover, and seeing all the Chronix stuff, there's definitely talk about his visuals, because I did tour artwork for him as well for his North America tour and Europe, and like a summer US thing too. So it's been fun seeing just what people have to say about the visuals, because it's definitely something fresh for Chronix, and also it goes with his stuff very well. So I think that it just fits. It's a good fit. But yeah, it's been cool. The cover was first seen on Fallon when he performed on Fallon. So I started to see some comments right straight off from that, and it's been nothing but positive. So yeah,
that's pretty crazy to see Jimmy Fallon holding up your art.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, and that's Anderson was on Fallon too, so that's like number 2 on late night. But yeah, that was kind of one of my goals too. A couple of years ago, I remember like tweeting something about wanting to have one of my covers on late night, and then looking back, it's just funny how it all happened.
Definitely. Now I kind of want to switch gears. When we have producers, artists on, I like to sort of get their take on like the industry and stuff. And I think you come from a unique perspective, being a designer as opposed to like a musician. So I'm just curious, just a few questions sort of about what it's like, how you sort of, I guess, approach the world of like, graphic design. I'm curious, first of all, are you, not to deep dive into your pockets, but like, do you get paid a flat fee for artwork, or is it almost like a producer where you get some sort of publishing deal, and like, does the popularity affect the deal or anything?
Well, I would say that, there's not really a publishing deal as far as getting residuals, but, the longer the time goes on, the rates increase, and then take into account, the usage and all of that. So it depends on each project. But as far as, I'm like definitely more in demand than I was a couple of years ago, or even last year. So that just means the fees have to go up to make it. My time is just more valuable now.
Mm. And what steps do you take or what steps can young graphic designers take to make sure sort of they're not getting taken advantage of, or even just like what steps can they take to approach artists, or what should they do being approached?
Well, it's always good to have just like your paperwork and contracts and invoices straight. You have to be clear with clients in the beginning, and I feel like I've been lucky to work with a lot of great clients that, you know, they're not out to take advantage of me. They want really fire artwork, and that's what they get. So it makes it really easy when everyone's happy at the end. I mean, of course, there's snags in the way, and sometimes the artwork won't get used and whatnot. But, you know, for an artist, it's important to value your services and realize that what you're doing is very valuable, and it's a specialized service that no one else can do besides you. So, you know, that it just makes, sometimes it's difficult to put a price on like your artwork or your time and whatnot, but you just have to start somewhere, and, you know, you can't really like charge a lot when you're first starting out. It's just a process that you can kind of learn and figure out how long things take and how much that's worth to you. Yeah, I mean, I'm in a place right now where, you know, my clients are happy, and I can't really just like take any job that's like a local musician and whatnot. I've been focusing on working for larger labels, and that's definitely what's happening. So, yeah, I'm definitely moving in the right direction.
When you were starting out, was it just, I mean, I guess, is it as simple as just, you know, making a picture of an artist, tagging them on Instagram? Is that sort of, do you recommend that? Or I guess if you're starting out, how do you get your name out there as someone to look out for?
I mean, that is something that I've done. It was an idea that I had for a long time, and then I did an illustrated series called Pro Rap, where I would just illustrate some of my favorite rappers and tag them, and it has led to a lot of exposure and just getting like work and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I would just say get creative. I mean, the internet is a great tool to use, and I mean, I'm kind of like, I didn't have Instagram when I was in art school and all that, but it's probably a good thing. But yeah, it's just so easy to get in touch with people. Anybody's accessible, I feel like, through social media. So that's kind of cool.
Awesome. Well, yeah, that's about wraps it up. I guess sort of for you, anything else you want to share, anything you're working on, or that we didn't touch on, any clients you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, look out for the Chronics album that's dropping June 30th, called Chronology. I did all the artwork and design and the packaging for that. Also, the artwork for his forthcoming singles. So all of that is going to be rolled out. Also, I would say just follow me on Instagram at Dewey Saunders. I post a lot of new work every day, and just kind of keep it flowing.
This is the genius, Chris Calico. Cali, baby. Letting you know you're tuned into Tech Nine's Independent Grind on Dash Radio.